Hey everyone, this is Dean Howell and this is the Rising Sun Podcast. You know, after 20 years of service with America's heroes, I've had the chance to meet some pretty awesome people. They're patriots, mothers, fathers, wives, and husbands, and the best example of what it means to be an American. This podcast is all about exploring their joy and pain, success and failure, and telling their stories to the world. The conversations are authentic like the people, and we hope that you'll keep rising like we are. Now let's start the show. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the speakers and not of DoD or any of its components.
Take me to the countryside. Gotta get out of these city lights. Drinking my cup, got me feeling right.
Keep hammering and nobody cares, work harder, right? And I follow him on everything, man, because that dude runs like 20 something miles a day, man. Like,
he's an animal.
Like he runs like a marathon a day.
Yeah, in the mountains. He
runs the mountain. He jumps up on the stump and he's like all super cool with it. Hope you're having a cool day, man. Okay, dude.
Yeah, that's not what I'm doing on the weekends.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, no. It's one of the. I don't know. It kind of goes into what we're going to be talking about today: freedom, and the responsibilities and consequences that come with that. Right, the world doesn't know you shit. Right, nobody cares. Get to work. Yeah. You want something to happen, you got to make it happen.
That's it, dude. I think so. Yeah. So you said it. So I guess the topic for tonight is freedom. And man, what a freaking topic! We could probably
span this across 2 or 3 episodes.
Well, I mean, we could probably start a whole new podcast called The Freedom Contract and talk about nothing but freedom.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying, right?
We might start something called The Freedom Contract.
I mean, foreshadowing is a thing. But anyways, we won't get into that right now, except to say that there's big things coming, right? Which, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, in America, we value freedom. At least we say we do, right?
I mean, it is the core principle of our organization, our country. It's the one, right?
Yeah. So it is. And it's like this thing that we have in America, like so many people take it for granted. Like we take it for granted because, it's been around for 200 whatever years now. And so it seems very normal. But, something to really think about. And I'm not a historian, but, I have studied enough, throughout the years to understand that, like, what we have here when it was started, right? If you're talking about our founding fathers, like it was fucking radical, man. It was radical, right? The idea that the government is of the people and by the people, for the people, that was a radical concept,
Yeah.
So, and here we are all these years later.
Yeah, I think, in saying, it's a radical concept, right? It's funny how things get lost in history and how ideas and just constructs change throughout society, right? But like you said, like this was not something people did. This was not a way of living. This was not a way of society operating, right? This was a complete departure from everything, everything that had been normal for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And people got fed up, right? And then, I don't even know what we could compare it to today, like the things you see on the news where you're like, oh man, these nut jobs are like, what are they talking about now, right? Like, whether it's Occupy Wall Street or, whatever things, social uprisings happen, right? They seem really like crazy and wild and just like, why would you do that? Why would you be saying that? Why would you be out in the streets chanting whatever but like, that's how change happens. And then it just becomes normal. And then it becomes like, the bastion of the free world, And, yeah. So
I'll tell you, man, something we never talked about, but So I grew up in a little place called Winfield, Louisiana, right? And Winfield, Louisiana, was, in the early 1900s, 30s, 40s, was so it was the birthplace of two governors, right? So Huey P. Long and Earl P. Long. If you ever watched Kingfish, there's a movie about Huey P. Long, and Huey P. Long may have become president before Roosevelt, but he was assassinated in the state capital in Louisiana, and he was 100% a socialist, like 100% he was a socialist. But some of his things that he did brought a lot of great benefit to the country, including when you went to school, when you went to public school in Texas. I went to public school in Louisiana and Texas. Like, you didn't pay for your textbooks, right?
Right.
Okay. So that started in Louisiana, right? Like, so kind of socialized education, like public education, where the students didn't have to pay for their texts and whatever, like a private fee for their teachers. Like Huey P. Long was kind of like the genesis for that. So he was definitely a socialist, and he was from Winfield. And so, like, if I look at old newspapers from Winfield, Louisiana, like in the 30s, like one of them's called like the Comrade and stuff like that, right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy, right? But again, he was assassinated for that. Like, fast forward, now we're in this place where a lot of people think that, like, this idea of socialism, like, let's just share the wealth and like everybody's happy and content. Like, a lot of people think that's such a good idea right now. And it blows my mind that people think that's a way that we should go, right? Because it's never been anything but a failure anywhere in the world, right? And I don't know, man. Again, I've never told you this, Matt, but I was a little bit of a child prodigy. Well, I've probably told you that because I like to brag, right? But so, like, between my 7th and 8th grade years, so my mom, she used to put me in all these summer camps and stuff. And I don't know why, when I think back on it in retrospect, there was a college professor that came to Winfield, small ass town Winfield, to the public library and gave a 4-week lecture, right? You went like a couple times a week over 4 weeks during the summer. And his lecture was on the Bolshevik Revolution. So, like, in 7th grade, like, I'm like, listen, like, the proletariats rise up and overthrow the government. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I guess I say that to say that, like, I think that there's some people in our country right now that really believe that that's what the next step is in our evolution as a country, is that, right, like, the working class will overthrow the elites and we will become a socialist country. And it's like, dude,
that ain't gonna happen.
It's not going to happen. And by the way, if it did, it would be a complete disaster, So
it would be a complete disaster because, once you start relying on the government for the majority of your well-being in life, it's game over, dude. Like, it's game over because they don't care, right? They don't care.
Yeah.
And I think there is an imbalance, right? There's a wealth gap, right? But I think that's just a byproduct of capitalism, right? You're gonna have people that are doers and makers, and you're gonna have employees, right?
Yeah.
And I don't really see anything wrong with that because it's just how the world works, right?
Yeah.
And I think, keeping things in check and thinking, keeping things in balance is important. But I don't think it needs to swing all the way to, quasi-communism, right? Like
Yeah.
we're not. That's not gonna fly. That's going against it's antithetical to everything America is, right?
Right. Yeah.
Where the idea that the world doesn't owe you anything, right?
Yeah.
But you have a blank canvas. You have opportunity you have agency to go out and make something of your life, right? And that doesn't mean getting filthy rich. It means you have the ability to choose what you want to do for a living, right? There's countries where you don't have that choice. You do this. You were born here. Your parents are this. You go do this, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of people take it for granted, like you said, and a lot of people don't understand. They've never traveled outside the borders of the U.S. They've never seen the way other countries operate. And I'm not talking about a week or two on vacation, right? They've never actually lived in another country, myself included. And I just think there's something really special about America and about the values we hold and about just the way our society is set up that is not going to mesh well with socialistic policies and views. Now, that being said, there are fabrics, there's layers of our society that are socialist in nature, right? If you needed to give it a definition. Yeah. And, I think those are good, right? I think society needs common goals and things that are altruistic in nature to be, for the common good, right? It doesn't have to be a free market on everything, right? Like school doesn't need to be a free market.
Right.
Healthcare arguably is a free market and there's been a lot of innovation. Yeah. But it's gotten to the point where it's past the point of innovation. And now it's like, we're in the keep you sick business, right? Because now it's a business. Yep. We're not in the healing business. We're in the keep you sick and keep buying our drugs business, right?
100%.
And, so yeah, I mean, there's trade-offs to everything, right? It's not a perfect system, but the alternative is not gonna bode well here in America, right? It's gonna stifle what we've been, for the last 100 years, right?
Yeah, man. I took a couple notes when if the topic is freedom,
it's a broad topic.
Notes. And so I'm not ashamed to look down at my notes. So Oxford defines freedom, right? Oxford defines freedom as the power to act, speak, or think as one wants. And that, when you just read that and you hear it, it's like, yeah, no shit. Right. But when you really think about it in the context of kind of what is going on with censorship and, monitoring of our communications and things like that, in today's society, especially in America, but really all over the world, it becomes pretty radical, right? Am I free? Am I able to act, speak, and think as I want?
Yeah. I mean, with everything I just said, it would kind of just assume that we are, right? Because I'm basically over here saying America's so great and it's all, rosy and peaches. It's not. To some degree, freedom's a bit of an illusion, right? Because there's always, I think, a bit of control and manipulation. And, those things are not going to go away no matter which country you plop down in, right? But yeah, I mean, with Elon offering to buy Twitter, right?
Because that made
my day. Oh, by the way, it took me 2 weeks.
I don't fucking know the guy, but man, I wish I knew that guy.
I just want to shake his hand, right?
I'll be like, hey man, I like you, dude. You're pretty cool.
Man. You're a pretty cool guy.
I like you, man.
Yeah. It took me 2 weeks, but I finally watched that documentary you were talking about. I started it like the day after you told me about it. It took me 2 weeks. of just being in my household and not being able to watch what I want to watch.
Yeah,
2 weeks to finish it.
Yeah,
That's what I did last night.
A little bit of Peppa Pig, a little bit of
bubble
Carly.
guppies. A lot of bubble guppies. A lot of bubble guppies.
Yeah.
Every episode.
But you finally watched it, right? How inspiring was it, dude?
Oh, it was great, man. It was good. And it was emotional, right? It was like, these cats just launched 2 dudes on the tip of a freaking rocket, to the space station, right? Not the government, not some mythical creature out there that does this stuff, right?
Yeah,
Elon Musk, right? Started PayPal, started a car company, started a freaking space company, right?
It fucks a lot of people up.
That's just cool, man. I don't know.
Dude, it's cool shit. It's cool shit. It fucks a lot of people up when people call him African American. Because he's from South Africa.
South Africa.
Anyway, sorry. No, but legit. So I remember I'm a nerd, Matt. I'm a nerd. I act all cool and shit, right? Wear cool hats like this. And
you think you're cool, but
I'm pretty cool. I'm pretty cool.
You're pretty cool. You're pretty cool.
You're cool too, bro. You're cool. Thanks, you're bro. Cool. Fuck you. You're cool. I'm out. Yeah. But dude, I remember when that launch happened, and I was glued. So they missed the initial launch date. I remember when it happened. And I was like, "Fuck, man!" Okay, when is it scheduled again? And no shit, I was tuned in, and because I knew what a big deal it was. I knew what a big deal it was that we weren't launching, American astronauts from Russia anymore, right? From Kazakhstan or wherever we were launching them from, right? That was American innovation happening again in America. And I watched it, dude, shoot off into space. And I was fired up, dude. I was like, hell yeah. And then,
I know it probably feels like we got off topic a little bit, but talk about freedom. Launch a damn rocket into space. And I'm going to get the government to sponsor it or not sponsor it, but work with me. Right.
No. Yeah. Right.
I'm going to take over. I'm going to take over NASA basically.
The freedom part of it. There it is. Right. Hold on, hey, civilian sector, we need you to do this. Hold my beer, watch this, right? Yeah. And so I think the freedom part of it is it's not a hard connection. The freedom part of it is that where else in the world does a civilian, a guy that came from almost nothing, where else in the world is somebody like that able to raise the capital over time and have the dream and collect the team to put that into reality, right? For a very efficient cost, right? Holy shit, man. To me, that is that is a quintessential American story, right? You know what I mean? Right. And, I don't know, man.
There's nowhere else in the world. There's nowhere else in the world that a private citizen, a private company would be given the green light to take that on, right? That is literally a national, every other space race country we're in it with. It's a national effort, right? It's a government sponsored, government controlled effort,
right?
And
right,
for him to step in like that and achieve what they've achieved, it's just mind blowing, man. I mean, the fact that they can land a damn rocket on a moving ship in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. Huh?
Oh yeah, 100%.
What?
The fact that he can recover the fact that he recovered the propulsion units, the base rocket is incredible, right?
It's on another level, man. But
so
I don't even know how we got on here.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that dude. I don't give a shit. I'm not a fanboy. Almost ever, except for Elon, right? I'm a fanboy. I'm a big old fanboy. So I want to. This is way off topic, Matt, but I want to share this with you, man.
Lay it on me, bro.
Huh?
Lay it on me, bro.
All right, here we go. All right, here we go. So there is this drink that Coca-Cola makes. It's called Chill Out, right? and
A terrible name.
it's Japanese though, right? So
okay.
and so anyways, like it comes in a little small can. You've been to Japan, so you know you can get anything in the vending machines, man. You can get coffee, you can get beer, you can get well, now you can get Chill Outs, right? And what it is, like it's like a CBD drink, right? So like, and for us in the military, it's been specifically like no, you know, because it might make you pop on the piss test, right?
Right.
Very small chance, but it probably would. I mean, it probably would not, but it might make
kill a 12 pack. It might.
Yeah, 100%, right? Which sailors would do some stupid shit, right? Bought all the Chill Out from the vending machine. Anyway, so about 6 months ago, the shit came out and was like, hey, like Japanese are selling this, like don't buy it because it's got trace amounts of like a hemp product, right?
Right.
And you know, so it's like, bet whatever, send it out. I sent it out to everybody. You know, I was like, hey, don't drink this. I'm like, oh, don't drink it. And then today of all days, right?
On 420.
Yep. Shit you not, man. Today of all days. So we have contractors that fill our vending machines on the base, right? Japanese contractors that fill our vending machines on the base.
Boom.
Today of all days, like that drink just happened to be in one of the vending machines. Right? And somebody was like legitimately, somebody sent a picture. Right. And like, hey, just letting everybody know, like the contractors, you know, fucked up. And like
Devil's lettuce is on base.
And the pictures have two little sticky notes like beneath with arrows pointing out and said, don't drink this. Don't drink this. Right?
That's funny.
And I was like, hold on, man. Like, is somebody playing a joke on this? Like on 420, they put some hemp product in the vending machine. And it was at the fire station of all places. So,
oh, bro, that's funny.
Anyways,
that's
way off
funny.
subject. But I mean,
that could segue into another, you know, freedom topic of, you know, why does the government get to tell me what I can put in my body, right?
Oh,
right, like
yeah. I
mean, I get it, you know. There's some things you definitely should not put in your body. Mm-hmm. But there's also, you know, with marijuana, I mean, and cannabis, there's the history of it is so fucked up. I mean, just how it became illegal, right? How it became illegal was completely political, completely, you know, commercial in nature to protect commercial interest. Of the paper conglomerates. And I mean, hemp's been used since all the way back, like all the way back to like all of human existence.
Yeah, and since we figured out that we could make things from things.
I mean, it has more uses than like any other plant on the planet. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, but, even in the Navy. Keep that train of thought, right? But even in the Navy, you know, like we used to make our, you know, our line, our rope. Yeah, people would call it rope. Yeah, right. We used to make our line. Yeah, it's Navy. It's Navy. You know, I can't. We used to make our line from hemp. Yeah, you know, and then we had to stop because hemp products were outlawed essentially, right? But those were, you know, a superior form of line to even like nylon and things like that, right? Yeah. But because we can't use it, then we had to stop.
Nylon is the reason hemp is illegal. DuPont. DuPont.
No shit.
And what was his name? Henry Anslinger was the federal official that made it happen, but it was DuPont and Hearst. William Hearst owned all the newspapers, owned all the timber tracts that made the paper. Yeah. And it was them getting together, making a smear campaign, using minorities to form propaganda around it. And they needed to protect their interest, right? And they needed synthetic fiber. They wanted to put it in the market. Hemp was a superior paper product to trees. They didn't want that, right? Because he owned all the newspapers. So I mean, that's a whole other history lesson, right? Like that's just a whole other like, and then to what it's turned into with like millions of people incarcerated for, nonviolent crimes of just possession of a fucking plant. Like, give me a break. Yeah. Like, what kind of cartoon world is that we're living in, right? Yeah. And the fact that it's taken as long as it's taken, I think it was like 1933 or 32 or something, whenever that happened. Like the fact that it's taken this long for reform to start happening, it just goes to show the power of social perception, right? Like when propaganda gets put out there, like people legitimately still believe that cannabis makes you go crazy. It's like, oh, bro. I mean, it can make you have a moment of like, but
I'm with you, dude.
Ain't nobody going into a psychotic episode and like, come on, man. Like,
there's other things that do that.
Yeah, lots of other things, right? And I think it's one of those things that I think it's a good example of overreach, right? Without cause.
Which kind of gets back to the topic, right? Like, who's to say that, the government says that, I can't smoke or ingest marijuana, right?
Right.
And yet, I'm gonna keep it real fucking real, and I don't mean to bring the mood down, right? But like, I have a brother that died from a fentanyl overdose, right?
Yeah,
and very well, like about that because, you spoke at his funeral on my behalf, right? And like that's how he died, dude. Like he died from a fentanyl overdose. And hey, real talk, he was an addict. He had been an addict for a long fucking time. Oxycontin and any opioid that he could get his hands on, like that, like he was an addict to that, right?
Yeah.
And real talk, and I'm not ashamed to talk about this, man. Like, as the story comes out over time after somebody dies, like you kind of find out what happens, and basically what happened was that like he had never taken it, and so he didn't know how to take it. Yeah, like that's what it boils down to, right? And so he took too much, and so like we as a country are just sitting here like accepting the fact that like literally hundreds of thousands of people are dying from like a legit dangerous drug, right?
That's manufactured, by the way.
That's manufactured and certainly being pushed by our adversaries into this country, right?
Yeah.
And yet we're like, oh, but like don't smoke weed. Like fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Like fuck yourself. Like go fuck yourself. The
fact that it's the fact that it's a Schedule I drug is just completely just so asinine that it's just whether you're a proponent for it or against it or whatever, like there is no argument. There is no argument to keep it a Schedule I drug.
Yeah.
Schedule I is for heroin. It's for fentanyl. It's for, things that will kill you. Right.
Yeah.
Things that will kill you with one time. And it's just, it makes people lose faith in our government's ability to tell them what's right. and what's going on, what they should, be watching out for, and what they should. I mean, in my opinion, right? Like, it's a micro thing, right? But it's become a bigger thing here in recent years. But it's one of those things that when people know they're being lied to, they don't trust, right?
Yeah,
simple as that. I mean, it's basic human psychology.
100%.
And so when you know you're being lied to, well, what else are you lying to me about? And it just opens the door. And it just, the fact that they've slept on it and it's like been drawn out over, the last 10 or 15 years is just like, I'm over it, man. Like it's just, it's like, it's so ridiculous that it's gone this far. But anyway, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. So anyways, happy
it's an example of the illusion that we live in our own free society world. Right. Yeah.
But, you talk a lot of shit, but, so there's two reasons why, I continue to serve, right? Like I continue to serve in the military. And I'll tell you, the first one is because of the people. I talk about this a lot on some of my other podcasts, right? Like, or some of the other, versions of this podcast, whatever. The first reason is the people. Like, I get so much joy out of seeing somebody that I meet, and they're they are who they are when I meet them. And then when we part ways, they have become, this much improved and remarkable person, right? Like,
right.
And then fast forward 10 years and I see them achieving amazing things. Like the fact that I had some small part in molding them into that person that they become. That is the number one reason why I continue to serve, right? Because I just get joy out of seeing people like achieve their potential, right? And
your potential is ingrained in that organization, right? Like your ability to give and serve and mentor and foster is probably wrapped up in that, right?
100%, dude. I mean, so I'm totally invested. Like I'm all in. I am all in at this point, right? Like, every day I wake up, it's about making sure that any interaction I have with somebody is a positive interaction that will, help them become something better, right? And then so that's kind of like the first thing, and the other part is that I believe in I believe in what makes America America. Like I believe wholeheartly in the foundation, the construct, the principles that make America America, which is that people have individual liberty, right? Like free agency. People have the ability to determine their own destiny. People have the ability to say, I would like to be this. I would like to do this. I'd like to build this. And there is no societal and holy shit, man, we could get into this whole other thing, right? Which I don't believe in, but there's no real societal from a government societal construct that prevents somebody from becoming what they want to become. Right. And like that, again, like, how we started, that is a radical thing, man. That's radical. That was a radical construct. It's like, I don't care who you are. If you want to be something, then, like the opportunity is there for you. Right. And that is what America stands for. Right. This idea of the American dream. And I believe in that, man. I believe in it with all of my heart. And I like legitimately whatever, man. Like I'm in the Navy and I'm on shore duty. I'm not out there getting shot at or anything, but I'd be willing to. I'd be willing to defend that idea, to defend that premise of what America is.
Absolutely,
because I think it's so important to the world.
Yeah, I mean, talked a lot of shit here in the first part of the podcast about, government overreach and, got to have rules, right? There has to be regulation. There has to be like a governing body, right? Because you can't just have people running wild on the streets and doing whatever they want, right?
Right.
Or can you? I don't know. I think if you look historically, and I'm not a historian either, I'm not educated in all the things, but I just kind of look at things from a macro perspective. And, where society started, where, governing bodies were like gods, right? And they just like told everybody what to do, like established all the rules, to where we're at now with America and seeing the pros and cons of that, right? As compared to other countries and governments and how they run their countries. I think we're moving into more of a decentralized era than ever before, right? And decentralized gets pegged to cryptocurrency and blockchain because it's just part of the definition of what they are. But I think there's a bigger idea in play here that society will continue to get freer, and it will continue to break down borders. We're a global world now. We're not a national, nationalism is not gone, but it's way less than it was 50 years ago. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming a borderless world. And it's going to be interesting to see over the next 100 years, which you and I won't be around to see, but of how,
I'm gonna live forever, bitch.
Leave it to Elon. You got your neural link, and you're just like,
let's go, dude.
80,000 years old, just being like, yeah. But
segue real quick.
I think, yeah.
Keep that train of thought. Please don't lose that train of thought.
But
fucking shit. Have you ever watched? Sorry. Have you ever watched Altered Carbon?
I started watching it, I think, and it was. I think it was a little too weird or something. I don't remember.
It was too sci-fi for you. So,
it was probably a family night, and it wasn't like, it probably wasn't like what anybody wanted to watch but me.
It's not family material. Anyway, so second season sucked. First season was awesome. Watch it when you got some time. Anyways, so you already forgot what you're talking about.
No, I was going to say it's just going to be interesting to see how society continues to adapt to this open world that we're kind of moving into, right? And you got Elon wanting to go to Mars and put a base on the moon and then put a city on Mars. I read an interesting article the other day that theorized that Elon was Satoshi Nakamoto, the guy who invented blockchain. Right.
I've heard that.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. They have a lot of the same syntax, a lot of the same ways that they form their, syntax. But anyway, and also, Elon made PayPal, right? Like, he's no stranger to currency software.
Right.
So I don't know. It's plausible. But, if you look at like a long-term strategy, right, we're going to the moon. We're going to be multiplanetary species. Sorry, paper bills ain't coming with us.
You need a currency.
You need a currency that works.
So what's funny is I listened to the last time he was on Rogan, and this topic came up.
Yeah.
Like legit came up. It did. And Rogan kind of like, kind of pushed in at him. And he kind of like, in typical like, Elon fashion, he kind of like, I don't, you can't tell what kind of accent I have.
That's pretty good.
Like, what is your accent, dude? Anyways, but he kind of played it off. And actually, even the conversation that you just talked about, which was interplanetary travel and colonization, came up. And, the topic of like cryptocurrency came up because you're right. Like, we ain't taking dollar bills
Ain't no
to
trees on
dude.
Mars.
You're taking dollar bills to Mars, man.
Ain't no hemp on Mars either. Right? So,
I bet you there'll be weed on
that
Mars.
with us too. You know what I'm saying?
Ain't gonna be that tweed on Mars, baby. That'll be the first thing they grow. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, man, I'm just letting you know if I ever go to Mars, I'll be smoking a joint when I get there. But whatever. But whatever.
So
yeah, I think I mean, if you just look at everything he's been a part of, right? Like, he's been a part of PayPal. He's got a fucking space company. He's got Starlink. He's got satellite internet up in the sky. You know what I'm saying? Like, that can be brought to Mars, right? All these things. He's literally like setting the stage for us to live on a different planet, right? And everything that is going on right now, I think people are getting caught up in the weeds about like what kind of regulation is going to come out and what kind of policy is going to come from the government that allows stable coins and allows us to do this and that. And that's all fine and dandy for like the here and now. Elon's thinking 300 years ahead, right? He's like, what are we going to be doing when my great grandchildren are dead? Right? Like, where are we going to be as a species then? Right. And so, I think it's cool to watch. I think it's, I don't know. It's interesting. And, it's what a time to be alive. You know?
That motherfucker's naming his kids after fucking airplanes and shit.
Really?
Legit. Like his kid is named after, so of course everybody knows the SR-71, right? The Blackbird, right? Like, holy shit, when you're a kid,
it's the first model airplane I made as a kid.
SR-71, that's so cool.
Had one hanging in the corner of my room for a long time.
This is when I need a producer for like, hey, look this up type shit, but I don't have one, so I'll whatever. But so he named his kid after the SR-71 was the DoD version of this reconnaissance aircraft, right? That we're all very familiar with, right? The Blackbird.
Yeah.
The CIA had their own version of it. Is like the A something, right? And it was a little bit smaller, but it was almost exactly the same platform, except it was a single pilot, right? And so like it was A something something something, and he named his kid after that aircraft because he's like, cool, that's the coolest aircraft that I've ever seen, so whatever, right? But anyways, I don't know, man.
I'm doing the producer thing. I was just looking it up. Like, I didn't know he had 7 kids. 7 kids? Like, I didn't know he had 7 kids. That's crazy.
If I was the richest man in the world, I'd be fucking pumping babies out like nobody's business, dude.
Right? I need to spread this seed. We need to populate the world with more of me.
I'd be like super Mormon.
Yeah, these kids got some weird names.
It's like A
Dark
something.
Citadel.
Yeah, right.
AE-A12.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah. AE-A12. Yeah. So, anyways.
All right. Elon's an alien. I'm sorry.
I hope he is. Jesus Christ, I hope he is, man.
Yeah.
I hope every day.
You know who looks like an alien?
Mark
Zuckerberg.
Fuck
that dude.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah, for real. That dude looks like an alien. Like, you look at him, he's like
that motherfucker is like Data's fucking like bastard kid. You know what I'm saying? Like Data from Star Trek. He's like Data's fucking bastard fucking son. Like, Data's embarrassed to that bitch.
Data came down and had a weekend in Vegas, and then Mark was born.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like that kid.
We'll hook him up, though.
I'm Mark Zuckerberg. Yes.
Dude, yeah, it's wild. Those the photos from those hearings. I'm just like, what am I looking at here, man? Your skin's like green, your eyes are all black. Yeah. What is the matter with you?
His hair is all fucking like perfectly trimmed, like bitch.
Oh man.
Anyways,
Yeah, we done got way off topic.
but is there a topic? Let's talk
Not
about
really.
freedom. Like,
Yeah, I'm free to
our
talk about
ability
whatever
to
I
talk
want,
about
man. What are you
whatever
talking about?
I talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about on my podcast. God
That's
damn it. Desiree, tune out. Tune out. It's getting weird.
Yeah, she stopped watching after the first 2 or 3. I don't know.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not watching it.
She got the vibe. She was like, oh, these guys. Okay, whatever.
Hey, dude. So I want to compliment you on your fantastic headphones and setup. You sound fantastic tonight. Your voice is clear and has a deep resonance. Very manly.
Yeah.
I just want to compliment you on the fact.
I had to up my audio game, man. I had to up my audio game. We got a couple snafus on the last couple of episodes.
Hey, snafus is a fucking shit show, is what it was, dude. Like, it's a fucking shit show.
It's like the best episode we have, and I can't even share it with people because it's like,
I know, dude. Like, I just want to, and I apologize profusely to Amanda. I was like, I'm so fucking sorry, because of content. But you know what? Like, so Chris, the one I just did, Chris McGrew, like all hand tattoos and everything.
Yeah,
bad motherfucker, by the way. Like, it was funny how many times did he reference the Texan Connection in the episode that we did? He's like, dude, like, the shit that you and Matt were talking about, like, really resonated with me, and it got me thinking. And I was like, damn, dude, like, you like sat through all that shit, And but he
famous yet?
I think we're like low key famous in our own heads. Does that count?
I'm the star of my own show for sure.
100%. I mean, I'm a pretty bad motherfucker. And so are you. So, okay, dude, I do want to bring it back. Right. So, okay. So when we we talk about freedom, right? And I think a lot of times we get it confused with like Braveheart, like, freedom, as he's getting like disemboweled type shit, right? It's a great word and it has a lot of meaning. I think if you're an American, like specifically if you're an American, like it has like this deep connotation to it, right? Like you hear freedom, you're like, fuck yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like America, fuck yeah, and
America, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Freedom isn't free. Costs $1.35. But I think we get confused with liberty sometimes, right? And so, I kind of knew this already, but I was doing some reading for this episode. Like freedom is chaos, right? Freedom is fucking chaos. Freedom is anarchy. Freedom is do what the fuck you want and fuck everybody else, right? That's freedom, but liberty, as it's enumerated in the Constitution and in our Bill of Rights, is freedom that does not infringe upon the freedom of other people, right? And so, a good example, I mean, a very kind of like draconian or an extreme example would be like, freedom would be, like I just go out and kill a bunch of motherfuckers, right? And fuck everybody because I'm free. Liberty would be like, it would prohibit you from doing that because it would infringe upon other people's freedom, right? And so I think the American idea of freedom is actually liberty, right?
Right.
And so, which is, here's a radical concept, and yet a true concept, and like what we are as Americans. Liberty is guaranteed. It's not like like, like, hey man, like you get your liberties, under these certain parameters. No. The Constitution guarantees that you have liberty, right? Like you have the ability for, if you look at the Declaration of Independence, that's the premise, right? Like that's kind of like this is what we believe in, right? And then the Constitution is the contract, right? The Constitution is that says, okay, here's our vision for what we think America will be, right? And then the Constitution is like, and then here is our contract with the people of America to say, here's how we're going to do it, right? I think that, well, I don't think that. I know that, the population in America doesn't think of it that way, but that is what it is, right? Like, here's the premise, here's what we want to be, and then here's how we guarantee we're going to be what we say we're going to be, right? It's like the most basic idea or basic way of like construct of setting up, in our case, a civilization, a country, but really, even if you think about like, a company or an organization, like it's the same idea, right? Like, here's who we are.
Here's our bylaws.
Here's the rules, how we're going to make us who we say we're going to be, right? So I think that this idea of liberty is so fucking critical to us having like our personal freedom to do whatever we want to, right? Like to exercise our right to be financially, independent and to exercise our freedom of religion and to say what we want in public forums. I don't know, man, like I'm fucking ranting right now, but does that make sense to you? Right? Like Declaration of Independence, it's such a beautiful concept, right? Like Declaration of Independence, this is who we say we're going to be. Constitution, this is how we're going to fucking make it work. Does that make sense?
It's a framework. It's a framework for society, right? And it's, like I said, I'm not a historian, so I don't know how other countries have done it, but I don't think anybody's done it like we did, right?
No.
And it's just paved the way for just so many things that, just take, like you said, like setting up companies, right? Like you set up a company based on that model, right? I don't know if that's where it originated, but it's a pretty good model, right? You got a mission statement, you got core values, you got bylaws, right? You got to set up a framework for any kind of to be functional and to be productive and to be, clear and understood in the purpose and the reasoning behind whatever it is you're doing. It needs that, right? And I think it's an interesting topic to pontificate on because it has, it can be perverted a little bit, right? It can be misconstrued. It can be, there's good and bad with everything, right? It's not a perfect system, but it's the best one on the planet, hands down.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that the construct of America, right? And I refuse to talk about when we're talking about the construct of America and like the ideals that we're founded upon. I don't want to talk about the fact that like our founding fathers were slave owners. Like I get it, dude. Like I got it. it sucks. It's shitty. It's fucked up, right? Like Thomas Jefferson, you know, he did a lot of fucked up shit, right? But,
Sure.
you know, and yet, like, he was one of our founding fathers. Like, if we get to a place where we totally disregard what any accomplishment that anybody has, you know, if we disregard it based on, you know, the way they were in the time where they existed, then
Right.
nobody ever does shit. Nobody ever does shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right? Like,
look,
you know what? Fuck Isaac Newton. You know, fuck the law of gravity and you know, fuck Einstein and theory of relativity because, you know, he's a piece of shit in this way, right? Like, if we get into that, you know, vein, then nobody ever does anything, right?
Right.
Because nobody's perfect, and especially in the time where they exist, where the societal norms are much different over time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but they didn't invent slavery. They didn't just like come over here and be like, we're going to make America and slavery, right? They didn't do that.
Right.
They were operating in the social norms and the way things have been done, good or bad, right? Evil or not. They were operating until it wasn't okay anymore, right? Until people had enough, until the world and society at large realized, like, this is evil, right? Like, this is not good. This is not This is not
right.
This is not representative of the country we're building, right? This is not.
Yeah.
We've come over here to do this new radical thing, but we took one of the worst parts of where we came from with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's time for it to go. It's got to go.
Right.
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 And still to this day, we're living out the consequences of those decisions of people back then that they made. And we've got to grow from it, right? And we've got to learn from it, and we've got to, keep it in our minds when, we are thinking of people that come from different backgrounds and different cultures. They don't look like it, right? Like humans are tribal, right? We've always been tribal, right? We're always going to stick with our own kind because it's a survival mechanism. But that goes against the grain of being empathetic and being open-minded and being, all the things that we want to be as humans, right? Like there's a whole long history of things not going down that path, right? That we have to continually grow out of. And I think certainly when you compare America to other countries that still have that class structure in place, we've certainly grown out of that. And I think those are history lessons that we just have to always continue to keep in the forefront of our mind, in trying to understand other members of our community, right?
Yeah.
And when I say community, I'm not just talking about, your town and your city, our country, right? Our country is our community. And the world is our community. But for the purposes of this conversation, our country is our community. And I think it's apparent to see that there are forces in play that want to keep us divided and keep us at least portray the appearance that we're divided. Because I think if you ask most Americans, they don't feel the way the media makes things out to be in the current climate. When you see all this shit on TV, that's put in front of you for a reason, right? Yeah. And there's an agenda behind everything, right? Yeah. But in everyday life, we're just living, right? We're just
LIVIN.
Keep on living, man.
Sorry, dude. Right? Yeah.
But that's part of liberty, part of freedom is everybody gets a seat at the table. And it hasn't been perfect, and it hasn't been equitable by any stretch of the imagination, but it's moving that way, right? And in moving that way, some shit's got to break, right? Some shit's got to get fucked up. And you don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it in the moment, but you have to understand it's just part of the process, man. It's just part of the process. And you got a longer, bigger picture in your brain. We're all going to be fine. It's all going to be all right.
I'll tell you what, Matt. So, dude, I love everything you just said because, like, I'm all in on that, and you know why I'm optimistic? I'm optimistic because our generation, like the people like us, right? Like, like you and I, and a lot of people like us are, on that cusp. We're kind of that Gen X / millennial, like we're in that in between place, right? Yeah. And I think we're the first generation. I think we're truly the first generation that doesn't give a fuck. And what I mean, we don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck like what color your skin is, where you're from, like what your family history is. Like I know I don't. And I know a lot of people like me, not just in the military, like a lot of people just like me that don't give a fuck, man. Like, hey, are you good people? Are you good people? And if you are, then hey, man, like let's get down, let's roll, let's do some good things together, And I think that we have less bias than all generations before us, right?
And our kids have even less than us.
Even far, far less than us. Because they don't even see it,
Growing up, my dad, your dad, our dads, we came from the same area of the country, right? Yeah. People ahead of us were not inclusive. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to put it, I guess. Yeah. Racist as fuck, actually, right? Things 100%. My dad would say at the dinner table, things my dad would put in his children's head, right? Yeah. I love you, Dad. No big deal. I mean, it's fine. Well, it's not fine, but it is what it is, right? Things he would say, I would never say in front of my kids. I would never say that in front of my kids, right? Because I don't want to continue that, right? I don't want to carry that down, but it's in my head, right? Yeah. And it's affected me in my life, and I've had to battle that. And I think a lot of people are afraid to admit that, right? A lot of people are afraid to admit the internal conversations that they have to battle in certain situations, right? It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you it's not really your fault, the environment you grew up in, right? Yeah. Yeah. But what you are in control of and what you have agency over is how you respond, how you react, how you continue to think, what you do with those thoughts, how you raise your kids, how you treat members of society, all those things. It's part of the process, right? No one can just wake up in the morning and be like, think like this now. Doesn't work that way, right? Right. It's got to take time over generations. And we're moving in the right direction. And I'm optimistic as well. Like I said earlier, I think the world's going to continue to become more borderless and more open and more interactive. And inclusiveness is part of that, right? And this societal change we're going through right now is part of the process. It's ugly, it's painful for people, it's divisive, it's all those things, but only good things come out of they can only come out of bad situations, right? I think that as we move forward into what I think is inevitably this kind of global society, right? I think it's so important to make sure that we maintain this idea of freedom that was born and created in America, right? Because if you look at like communist China, right? Like, okay, that's one option.
right? One option is that we're ants in a fucking anthill, right? And we're just like, enslaved to the queen, and we just go about our business with our heads down, and we just do what our job is, and we ignore the outside world around us, right? Like that's one option, right?
Yeah.
The other option is this idea that we're all free men, free women, and we determine our own destiny, and we coexist with our fellow man, and support each other, and achieve the potential that we have, in a free society, right? And hey, real talk, those are very like two distinct options that we have now. I truly believe that, dude. We either become slaves to just society, or we make society our bitch, right? Like this is how we're going to do it. We're going to be independent. We're going to support each other. We're going to be philanthropic and idealistic in the way that we support our fellow man, or we're just going to go about our business and do what we're told, right? Those are the two options,
Yeah, and there's definitely two factions that are in play that are in opposition of each other on those two ideals, right? And those two examples are the extreme ends of the spectrum, right? Like it's the ideals that are the end of the spectrum, but in reality, it's going to fall somewhere in the middle, hopefully, on the freer side of the line, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's why I talk with my guests all the time about Japan, and you kind of saw it. You got a little glimpse into it, and I'm very critical of Japanese culture just because I've lived here for so long. In that that they can be very restrictive of like individual liberty and things like that, but not to an extent where it stamps out individualism, because there is certainly individualism and creativity here. And I think that it's kind of this happy medium. Like Japanese culture is kind of this happy medium of the things that we're talking about, right? Like, and I hope that we land somewhere in there, right? Somewhere in that sweet spot in the next 30 or 50 years, where we are, responsible to society, but we also maintain our individualism. But there's this part of me that hopes that we maintain this as Americans specifically. As I look forward to the next 40 years and however much longer I live, right? Like I hope that there's still this idea of like, rugged American individualism, right? Like,
absolutely.
The fucking buffalo roaming the fucking plains, type of American individualism. Like there's something to be said for that, man. Like it's an example, it's a beacon to the world. And I hope that we're able to maintain that, for the long term. And honestly, I'm optimistic that we will. I do believe it's like a beacon to the world, right? Like it comes with a lot of baggage, right? It's like that crazy fucking girlfriend you have. Like, man, that bitch is fucking awesome, right? But man, she comes with a lot of fucking drama. like that's America.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I gotta run, man. I got jobs going on today. I gotta go visit.
No doubt, man.
I would leave us on this note. I hope everybody watching this is encouraged. I hope everybody is motivated. I hope everybody is proud to be an American. And I hope that some of the things we talked about today give people some perspective on things and open up conversations in their communities. So
100%, dude. All right, dude. So we'll do this in a couple weeks again. Coming soon, we're going to debut some big things that are coming that you and I have been working on, right? You know, kind of a teaser, but I can't wait to openly talk about it when we're ready to, man, because I think that the things that we have planned are, you know, aligned with a lot of the things that we talked about tonight. So
absolutely.
Anyways.
100%.
All right, brother. Hey, man, I love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
Man. Out.
Good episode. Talk to you later.
Bye.